artificial intelligence, where's it going to go in the future, do you think?
I think future of intelligence, artificial intelligence, tied with the new human agenda, if I say so. So if you look into historical path of the human, from ages till now, things are changed. And the human look into more, I can say 3 to 4 categories at the moment. One, it can be to be more happy, which is the happiness. The another one, it can be, I can say, immortality. Another one, it can be transcendence. So the immortality through the biotechnologies. Okay, so all these healthcare technologies, the medicine technologies, all things will allow human to significantly extend their lifespan, possibly to achieving the biological immortality. So there is this passion and the, I can say, human goals that how can I extend my life by the using of the AI. So AI, it's I can say it's a sort of reverse engineered and simulated of the human brain. Okay, so how the mind works, the AI, it's the reverse engineering of that from the pattern recognitions to this hierarchical model of the brain that it works. So the humans trying to hit some agents that they have, to get some agents that they have, something like the immortality. And another one can say happiness. If you see for the, why I'm saying happiness. Happiness about like a human well-being to this biochemistry and genetic engineering, so other technologies, those radical technologies, then that can alter the emotions and moods of the person. If we see this, I can say 5 sense of the human, what we did so far with the AI. Number one, we have a data that we try to simulate the human ears. Okay, so we have the voice recognition and so. We have a data that try to simulate the human's eye, computer vision. We have a data that we try to simulate the human's taste. So there are some solutions, applications that AI itself now can taste. The meals or something, and the smell and so on. And the smell, I think, is another technology that's coming that AI can smell. So all these 5 sense of the humans, it's simulated, re-engineered, and transferred to the AI, as well as the emotion detection. So there are, within this face recognition, we can say, are you happy? Are you angry? And even if these face recognition used for some political discussions to understand how is the other party's feeling, and so that extent. So all of these things that we're doing, we're trying to simulate the human, and maybe even better version of the human, to call it superhuman or super past human. We're trying to build all of these things to be able to alter our emotions and moods, that we like to always be happy, we like to have longer life, and also we like to have this transcendence of biologically we want to bypass the limitation of time and space. The two major limitation that we have is a time and space through AI. That this virtual reality, you see, VR, AR, all these technologies trying to pass the limitation of the human. I'm not limited to this location, and I'm not limited to this time. I can be anywhere in the virtual world, and I can be in any place in the virtual world. So we try to, as a human, to target these agendas: immortality, happiness, transcendence. So we can be we will go to the race of, I can say, superhumans, that biologically evolutions replaced the intelligence design, where the humans and machine control the development of the life.
It's interesting, isn't it? And Professor Adrian Cheok is working on putting taste and smell into computers,
Yes.
which, if you think about it, it initially seems like quite a stupid or a odd thing to do, but all that smell or taste is an electrical impulse anyway, because it's the sensors that we have in our nose transmitting something in an electrical signal into our brain to tell us that X, Y, Z might be almonds or whatever. So it's not so irrational. And he's also working on putting together technology that allows you to touch virtually. Is all of this, I mean, what you seem to be suggesting is that we're trying to develop something which moves us from the offline world that we're all so familiar with to moving us into this interface that allows us to do more?
Yeah, I think we're trying to build the virtual world and bypass the limitations that we have. And we can present, I mean, the individuals now craft unique online identities that may differ from the real world. So they can introduce themselves, persons can introduce themselves, the personas that they want, and it can be different across the platforms. So the people, and often differ from the real world life. So it's influenced by the digital environment they engage with. So we'll see this sort of the digital identity that's creating by the human, utilizing and using the AI and other digital platforms to, I guess, fulfill their desired persona, not what they're supposed to be with this limitation of the location and time. And if I, for example, was born in this country with these parents, I'm limited with that. How about if I move to digital world, I will be free to be whoever, whatever I want to be. So that will be give me the options of using the technology to unlimit and boundless my presence in the world.
So it's not, I mean, some people have been talking about this being a digital twin. It's not, is it? Because this, as you've just said, it can allow you to be whatever you want to be. You can, if you are disabled, you can escape that disablement. If you want to be somebody who is remarkably beautiful, you could be that. But the one thing that will tie you down is your identity, won't it?
It is. So I think we will have different type of personas, and the data that people's creating another world. So data, even it will be the data-driven persona. So the personal data gathered from the online activities used to create the personalized digital experience, sometimes crafting a version of the user that reflects their habits and behavior. And
right. So
the data analysis, that it's a term that I would like to use. So the data that you create within your own personas in your location things, it's come to the virtual world, and we will have the data-driven type of personas in the digital world. Or I can say maybe started from metaverse.
So, and that's the key, isn't it? Because the behavior, the personality that you are in the offline world will be what will be driving that personality in the online world, because that is what's determined your personality to begin with.
And it will, yes, and it will last longer. So if we go back to our ancients, our grandfather, who remember that person? Who remember your grandfather? But if you present in digital world, you can stay alive forever.
I mean, that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because some people have been In fact, some people have already embarked on building graveyards in the internet, where people put together all of the artifacts, all of the things that they feel make up their lives. They put together recordings of themselves and videos of themselves. But that sort of entity can continue indefinitely, can't it?
It is. I think the combination of AI and machine will take over the traditional way of the living, and even I can say presence in the world. We think when our life, maybe it's always, so there's no presence of that person physically in this world, while if the AI copy the mindset and the way the person's thinking and how it behaves and things, and create the persona out of that in the virtual world, it lasts forever. So that person's like that. Imagine that we have Einstein's way of thinking with us in the virtual world forever, and the person's like the Einstein, so they will stay with us forever.
It's interesting. We interviewed a former chief constable who used to head up the National High-Tech Crime Unit in the UK, and he said that he'd been working as the head of computer security for a Scandinavian, multinational Scandinavian games company, and that these hackers had attacked the company and said that unless they were given £750,000, that they would turn all of the game scores for all of the people who played the games back to zero, which for people playing computer games is quite a big deal, because it means that they lose all of their power, they lose all of the various different accoutrements that they've been working towards gaining. In this world that you're talking about, there's a very real danger of that, isn't there? If somebody turns off your digital you, psychologically, that could be incredibly damaging to someone.
It is. Look, I do believe that we will reach to the point of the singularity, which means where AI and digitalizations, AI, and all these platforms, and the human intelligence convergence, and the potentially transform to the one single, which means there will be the time emerging the AI and the human intelligence together, and they will not be able to detach them anymore ever. Today's life, if you see, there are lots of influencer in the social medias working. If whatever happens and we shut down all the platforms, all these networks, connectivity things, there will be a lots of people who will become unemployed, and somehow I can say, if you go back to traditional type of workers, they will be uneducated, or I can say even unskilled, so they don't have enough skills to stay alive. So we already emerged somehow with these digital technologies, and a new form of, I can say, inequality comes up, and it could emerge as only the wealthiest and the wealthiest can afford to enhance their bodies and mind, who can control the technologies, and AI and machine can take over traditional type of the jobs, and we already started with that. There will be lots of people with doing the job was just as the salespersons. Now you'll see the social media influencer taking over drastically. If there's no platforms, what will happen to them? And it keeps extending.
But that becomes the problem, doesn't it? Because if there's no employment for you in the real world, then everything starts to go pear-shaped, because you have economic contraction, because you can't get any work, you're not paying any taxes, nor are you buying anything. So in the real world, there'll be economic contraction, and there has to be economic contraction in this data-driven world, unless you allot some agency to an identity in this online world that allows your online persona to perform some useful function, perhaps by lending data.
That's true. I think there will be more inequality in the job markets. Okay, that while some people will adopt and thrive in the new economy, many may struggle to keep up. So we'll see the more gaps. The result could be increase the inequality where a small group of high skilled or creative workers become very wealthy, while many others become economically irrelevant. So I'll say that, like I say, the potential for the useless class of workers who were displaced by the technology and unable to return the fast enough. And then another point will be the automation and the job displacement. So there will be, unlike the previous industrial revolutions, the current waves of technological advancement may create a large scale of unemployment, particularly for the jobs that involves the routine tasks. The machine will be able to perform them more efficiently than human. Even the jobs that require emotional intelligence, such as the customer service, we see lots of these LLM agents that come to maybe replaced by the AI-powered system. So I can say the automations and job displacement, inequality in the job market is coming, rise of the new profession is coming. Despite the displacement of many jobs, the new profession will emerge through they might require a different set of skills. We didn't have data scientists, AI specialists, and digital content creator a decade ago, okay, or 2 decades ago. However, these roles will likely require the constant learning and adoption. And it says this industrial technologicals evolve rapidly. So we'll see the new rise of the professions coming up, like the influencer was not, the social media influencer were not, does not exist before, but now it's one of the common type of jobs in the market among the youth. You'll see the youth.
But there's still going to be a huge problem there, because a lot of those influencers are influencing the decision making and the buying decisions of the people that the sort of people that you say will be made effectively redundant or useless by this process. So therefore the influencers will not have as much influence because they won't be influencing that much money.
Yeah, that's true. I think we have a lot of new type of challenges and implications, such as geopolitical, ethical, and I believe that risk of inhumanism, that actually humanism will replace by algorithm dictation. So imagine...
Yeah, but you don't want to be in... to take that group of people who don't look as though they're going to have such a great time in all of this, who are becoming effectively ineffective.
Yeah,
it's not even going to be worth reskilling them.
It is. Look, depends that these companies and who control the technologies democratize the technology and be how much available to people, and the cost that's required to bring the AI literacy and digital literacy to the market. It will not be accessible for everyone. I do believe the gaps will become larger, and people who have money to pay to upskill their current skills may not have such opportunities for all the people in the market. Depends of how much they can invest on these new technologies, how much they can spend time and efforts and money to the reskillings and the continuous educations that they can have. And this life learning will be essential in the future of the work. And how much companies, countries, schools, universities will be ready for that. So you'll see the people who studied X side of the world will be different from the people who study other side of the world. And the traditional educational system may need to shift from preparing students for a single career to teaching them how to learn the continuous throughout their life. And imagine the people now, they're dealing with the Gen AI, and the students use learning from the Gen AI and agents, how depths they will go to the science versus a decade ago. Why I say decade, even versus a couple of years ago. So now, even another, I can say, scales that we need to understand. It's much bigger than the horrific impact that we've on by social medias and other platforms you've seen. You can basically use that as a show. I mean, you can use the agent model or this type of the new radical technologies that you can feed read 20 books and you give me the text of the books and the query, and then system come up say, tell me what's these 20 books about. And what we did is forget the middle, which is exactly how human brain works. Right? So we said, take those books, 20 books, really tell me the summary in 3 paragraphs. And we forget the middle part. With respect to agents, there are people who are building the LLM agents, and the way they do it is really something like the chemistry. They discover the principle of the chemistry. So agent discover the principle of the chemistry and then test it. And then they add that back into their understanding, right? So that's extremely powerful. And these ratings that I'm saying is it's like text to action. So it's read the chemistry, understand the chemistry, experience it, and then give you the results. So for this process, imagine that today I'll say there's no social medias. I'm going to ban for example, Instagram in your country. It's not going. TikTok actually is banned in some countries. So if such a things happen, then what I can propose that LLM, the agents, make a copy of this TikTok, Instagram, whatever, steal all the users, steal all the music, put my preference and on it, produce the program in the next 30 seconds. And that's a command. So you understand how powerful it is. So we're moving to this world, and you can go from arbitrary language to arbitrary digital command, actually using this Python thing. So imagine each and every human in the world has such their own programming in their hand, on all these powers in their hand. And if you go one layer above, you see how companies have the control over they will have control over the people, and they can surpass even the government's power.
Mona, this seems to be a world that's lost its meaning, though, isn't it? I mean, you talk about books and not reading the middle. The middle bit of the book is the bit that gives you that you're meant to read because it's got the understanding. I agree with you. You're going to get. You're already getting, because of the speed of information induction, for want of a better phrase, you're getting people developing systems that essentially précis a huge number of books. You don't have the time, so you read the précis. And if you want to try to stay competitive and viable in this world, you're going to have to absorb a lot of information very, very quickly. But again, in exactly the same way as you're losing the middle, you can, and as you just said, you can extract the human from this. You could perhaps even give agency to a collection of data, whereby you say that collection of data can have buying decisions, and really, this seems to be the beginning of making people useless.
It is.
Whoever they are.
I think if you look to the history, you'll see previously we have lots of studies and the reports saying, how can I do the automation? So you see the automation came through industries, and later on we try to understand the data. So we have this data analysis and data science. So what's the next? I do believe the next is philosophy of AI, philosophy of life. So how we should decide and make a decision of doing this or that, because algorithm could replace the human decision making, leading to society where human delegate the most task to AI and machine.
So, yeah, but I was talking to people in Panama about this in March, and there were some people who were predicting that because of advances in technology, we wouldn't need to worry about feeding ourselves any longer, because there will be a time of total food plenty generated by machines, that we would live forever because we would solve protein folding. And one of them was walking around, I think like you, he was from MIT, he was walking around predicting the end of death, the death of death. I said to him, it sounds to me like a terribly boring world. I mean, living forever. And if I'm living forever trying to sort of come up with the ethics of an AI system, I don't know, that doesn't sound... I could probably do it for about 200 years, but then I might get a bit bored.
That's very, very interesting view of going through all this. So I think we're going to build another level of game in our life to make it interesting for ourselves. However, it will be challenging because algorithms may dictate what's the best for the society based on the vast amount of the data rather than the individual choice or human ethics. So there will be a challenge that how to control this AI later and how they still obey and follow the human. There will be the communication levels, not with AI. AI will help us to communicate with our world and natures. We will be able to talk to tree. We will be able to talk to humans, to talk to animals. We will be able to talk to whatever physical things that we have around us that have their own frequencies. They have their own frequency. We cannot understand how they communicate, while AI will translate those or interpret those for us. So I think the new level of understanding a life will be open up to us. Will not let us to become buried. I mean, to reduce this barrenness that you say, it will not be that much bearing, yet it will be open another dimensions and understanding of the world in front of us. So we will have lots of discoveries that we couldn't decode so far. And lots of things I think in the world are already encoded.
And that's going to give us terrible problems, isn't it? Because if we start talking to animals, then obviously they're going to go off the menu because we're not really going to enjoy eating something that we're communicating with. And if we start communicating with the trees and the lettuces, then we could quite easily start to get feelings of conscience about eating those too. I think I already know people who speak to trees anyway. But that aside, I mean, this is interesting, isn't it? Because, as you say, a very philosophical world starts to develop. I mean, it reminds me of William Blake and To See a World in a Grain of Sand, and his idea that you burrow down and down and down to see different worlds in things, but also that they expanded above and beyond. And then, as well as talking about the metaverse, we're talking about this multiversal idea that has been filling the pages of the New Scientist recently. And on that, surely theoretically too, we have to also go out into space with all of this. Somebody that I was interviewing in another one of these very strange interviews was he was a games designer for NASA. And the reason that he was a games designer, well, the NASA needs games designers, is that if you're on a spaceship for 3 years going to Mars, you need to be able to do something. You need to be able to engage yourself, and you also need to go into different worlds so that you feel as though you're not going completely bonkers, locked in some capsule that's taking a while to get somewhere.
That's exactly what I was meant, that we will go beyond our limitation at the moment. So we're not just limited to the current space and time. We're trying to surpass and pass those limitations. Humans are becoming godlike. So it's like that a human will increasingly use the technology to enhance their physical and cognitive abilities, to blurring the line between the humans and machine. This actually.
There has to be a limitation in all of this, isn't it? Because, what you seem to be saying is unlimited, because it's down to, we use electricity to get into the system. We're generating the electricity from renewable energy sources. So it's all down to our wishes and what we want to do. However, I'm sure that somebody like Elon Musk, with his $253 billion, will be able to use technology to give him a bit of an advantage in that situation.
It is. We need to put some policies, we need to put some frameworks and ethics. But honestly, if you ask me, I don't think we will be too much successful in these areas, as we are not at the moment in the actual world. How much are each and every society or ethical? How much? The percentage wise, some countries doing better than the others, the crimes levels, and so there are policies in place, but how many are following that? How many passing that? And so I think in the virtual world we'll face the same things. Although the policymakers and organizations try to put the ethics and privacies over these technologies, I'm not sure that how effective it will be, with respect that the people have the more power with utilizing these agents, with utilizing this technology. So there will be more, I can say, power to bypass it. Even the companies, like, for example, removing the data from the LLM algorithms. Simple as that. We don't need to go beyond such a thing. So it's something, trying to removing training data once it has been baked into large language model is like trying to remove a sugar once it has been baked into the cake. Okay, so you will have to trash the cake and start over, which is expensive. So much too expensive to do every time a user feels like deleting a social media post. So this big cloud, you see it on the LinkedIn AI, that recently opting all the people to use their data for the LLMs. And when your data has been used to train the Gen AI model, data deletions cannot be actually feasibly guaranteed, even it's in your legal rights as a user. So all these policies like CCPA, VDCPA, GDPR, and even linked on user agreements simply cannot be honored as a state. And the way that Gen AI leaks information means they could get caught violating in the public. What's a gift to the legal profession? So this is the things that it's coming. So even we put the regulations over data, so over the algorithms, or the models, platforms, there are always ways to take it. And technically, as I explained, it will be super difficult and expensive to take it out of the scale, and out of the model itself. Data deletions cannot be guaranteed, even if it is your right, your legal right. That would be the difficult challenge. And who will guarantee, who will monitor, who will understand that whatever has been defined is effectively and practically it's happening in those big companies who are building these technologies or bringing these technologies to work.
what you seem to be suggesting, though, or what we seem to be, this conversation seems to be evolving towards, or is that the future influencers will be philosophers who will set the rules and regulations, or they will set down the behavioural norms of what is right and wrong. Because what you're saying is that the regulation itself won't effectively do that. The only way that you can do it is by saying to people, yeah, this is a right thing, this is a wrong thing.
I think if we make the people more understand about how AI works, so AI literacy, I think it's one of the key important things that society and each and every individual person should understand to whom and to what they're communicating and in which level, what data, what type of communications. Simply in the our world, we don't talk to stranger. We don't open up to stranger easily. Okay, so there, when we were a child, we've been taught by the parents, society, schools, things, how to communicate. Do not answer. So I have a little one, so say do not talk to stranger. Why? Because I'll see that there are some potential danger, potential cases that might hurt her. So I try to warn her, try to protect her, while giving the self-awareness is about that, to understand what's going around her. For AI...
But in this world of the future, in a sense, you will be encouraged to talk to strangers, because you will be encouraged to actually, for your data to interrelate to them, to give some value. And that thing of don't talk to strangers, that only really works if you express the outcome of it into the offline world. It's if some stranger wants to meet you in the offline world, that's where the danger sort of theoretically comes. I take on board that maybe in things like sextortion, some people could claim that that's happening in the cyber world, but it's not, because the physical effects of that take place in the offline world. But if you're going into this online world and increasingly spending your time there, then that's going to be that dictum of don't talk to strangers doesn't really come through unless the stranger has some ability to be able to affect you in that online world, which I suppose the only way that they could do that is by poisoning your data.
That's true. So the data when poisoned is difficult. You have to have some time travel to update and to remove that. Another important things is that how we educate our children to ask a right question, to prompting is an art. In the virtual world is about that how you communicate and what kind of questions you asking to understand the persons, or if you label it as strangers. And if you see there are lots of challenges around the social media and using the social medias, addressing the social media platforms that you impacted the youth life and the youth mentality, the youth communications, and how it's positively and negatively. And I'll see there are lots of the more weight on the negative part than the positive part. Anyhow, it's about how you help your next generations and the current one even to have the right literacy, ask the right questions and understand what's behind it. And lots of issues that you notice, it's because lack of information. So when you talk to the people, when you interview them, you say, I didn't know that. So I didn't know that such a thing. I didn't know that's a thing. I didn't know that this might be the implication. So it's all because lack of knowledge.
But the fascinating thing about this too is that, point one, Professor Rose Lutkin, who is the UK's leading expert on AI in education, she was telling me that in future you'll just have databases, and that those databases will, for national reasons, be based within a national area because there will be cultural artifacts. and that you will, instead of having all of that knowledge in your brain, that you will be, it will be down to how well you interrogate that information. So, as you say, how well you can question the data. But then the second point about this is it goes to, do we carry on being a materialistic society? Is the end all and is the be all and the end all to actually make money from asking that question, or is the be all and the end all to do some social or digital electrical good in the asking of that question? And is the reward therefore to do that social good as opposed to an economic gain for an individual?
When you say the AI and machine takes over the traditional jobs and traditional way, I think data will become like a currency. Okay, so data as a new currency in the future will be the most valuable resource, and the entities that control the largest data sets, as you said, that we have the databases right and left everywhere. So the one that controlled the aggregate all level of data made the largest data set in the world will hold the power.
So what you're saying is that rather than the data being the new oil, the data is the new power.
Yeah, data actually is a new power, so it will likely result in vast inequalities and the new ethical dilemmas surrounding the privacy and the human autonomy. So that's a main challenge that I'll see in the future, that who will own all this data, who will hold the power, and who will control the technology, who will benefit from all of these things. That's the thing. So companies, the big companies that were leading this may surpass the governmental powers later on. Maybe we need to think about how they're going to use this power, and how the algorithms or data or persons can manipulate the people's mind using AI or LLMs or Gen AIs, and so these are challenges that we may face by having a data as a new currencies, because it's how the people's dealing, how the people's communicate and trading together. So if I trade over your data, what will be the next? Then your persona in the digital world, your now we talk about your nationalities. Tomorrow we talk about datanality. What is your datanality in the virtual world?
Right. Mona, I'm going to have to go, but not because I want to, but because I have got to. Because I have to go and finish writing a book about AI and ethics. Quite ironically. But it's fascinating. We will talk again.
Sure.